Hey, welcome back to another episode of Teacher Nerds Podcast. I'm Ron Nober.
I'm Joe DiPaolo.
I teach technology, 3rd grade to 8th grade.
And I'm in the 3rd grade classroom.
Joe, so we're going to be talking about our experience at TechSpo last week.
Great 2 days, Ron.
Yeah.
A lot of information picked up, and going back into the classroom on Monday with some extra tricks in the bag.
Yeah, and you know what? I thought just being there and hearing people who think like we do, you know what I mean, was kind of, it's always nice to get that, like, hey, you're on the right track.
Right.
Or at least there are some other people thinking the same way that you do, whether it's the right track or not. But we're all kind of thinking the same way.
We've been hearing this stuff over and over again, so
yeah,
things are picking up.
Yeah. So we're going to start off with our 2 yes more, 1 no way, and I figure we're talking about Atlantic City, where TechSpo was, down the shore. Why don't we do seashore treats?
I love it.
All right. So, Joe, do you want to go first?
Sure, Ron. I love treats, and I love the shore. My first, especially with Atlantic City, would be White House subs. Being a Philly guy like yourself, know what a good hoagie is.
Right.
And outside of Philly, sometimes it's tough to get one, or even Delaware County.
Right.
Let's say.
Yeah.
White House Subs and AC does a great hoagie. Now they're specific. Like if you wanted red wine vinegar, you couldn't get red wine vinegar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just balsamic. But they still make a really good hoagie. So, when you have the time, it's definitely a good spot to check out.
You know, it's funny. I remember being a kid and like all the neighbors would hang outside while the kids played together.
Yeah.
And one of the guys was going down to Atlantic City for something and took orders from all the neighbors for White House subs.
Man, so Philly people.
All the way down there.
Okay, so I guess, you know what? That does make it, that's legitimate then.
Yeah.
Nice. So my second treat would be another restaurant, Angelo's Fairmount Tavern.
Nice.
Phil D'Souza and I went down there a few years ago when they had the teachers convention, and the mussels marinara
in like red sauce.
And the spicy marinara, they were delicious. I remember going with my grandfather, and he loved to get the jugs of wine.
Okay.
Oh man, not my favorite part about the Fairmount Tavern,
right.
But just, I guess, or Angelo's Fairmount Tavern, I guess it's just that memory holds a special place in my heart, because he loved and I'm not gonna lie, the mussels are phenomenal. They do a great veal parmesan.
The veal parmesan's nice,
and you know what, the pasta's great. The sauce is phenomenal. So those, when I'm in Atlantic City, those would be my 2 sweet treats.
Okay, what's you got a no way for down the shore treat?
Well, I guess the saltwater taffy, man.
That was going to be mine as well.
No way.
Yeah, it's okay.
And exactly. It's not,
but it's not something I'll push for.
I guess we've been around for a while, right? And and if there's, you like the Northeast, right? And is that a staple up there? Yeah,
I mean, when you go down the shore, like that's somebody would always bring back saltwater taffy and stuff.
But even like when you guys go to Cape Cod and stuff, is
up in the north? Nah, not so much.
So saltwater taffy is kind of like an
AC or Jersey. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's just it doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean,
so what are you thinking?
So my 2, I went back to being a kid, and if we went down the shore as a kid, we would either go to Ocean City or Wildwood. Would be the two spots.
Philly people.
Yeah, that's where Philly people go.
They do.
So in Wildwood, the Coors Brothers is the ice cream shop, that they have there.
Yeah. Coors with the K.
Right? Yep, Coors with the K. Yep. So they do a ice cream and waffles, like a sandwich.
Yeah. Is it ice cream, or is it soft serve, or is it custard?
No, it's like the Neapolitan, the Neapolitan rectangle.
Yes. Yeah.
Like slapped in between 2 waffles.
Okay. Huh.
I think that's what they do, or they do just a scoop of like regular ice cream on a waffle, but that always brings back, like, that's down the shore. That's
especially Wildwood, right on the boardwalk with everything going on.
Yep. And then the other one was an Ocean City one, and that was the Mac and Manco's pizza.
Now, thoughts, right? Because now it's just
it's changed, right? There was a split, and I haven't even had it.
Okay.
I probably haven't had it in 30 years.
Oh, no way, really?
So, but that was always something, like, if you were going down Ocean City,
oh, of course,
that's what you were getting. There was no doubt.
And tell me, what was the longest you think you've waited in line for a slice as a kid? Like,
probably a good 45 minutes.
Okay, Yeah, July and August.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It crosses the boardwalk.
Yeah.
That's good memories, right?
Yeah. So they were just, and that's just childhood stuff, like just brings back good memories. And again, saltwater taffy's my no way.
Yeah.
Not because I don't like it, but it's just I could do without.
Well, see, I guess I don't like it, and I'm a taffy kind of guy.
Right.
But that just doesn't. There's something about it. Maybe it's the texture.
Well, sometimes like unwrapping
flavors.
it, your fingers get all sticky, and like
maybe July and August is so hot and humid. So that's nice. That's our no way.
Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and we'll get started. How about the first keynote was Matt Miller.
Matt Miller.
I thought was cool was first keynote was Matt Miller. Katie Martin was the second keynote. And you always hear people talk about, teaching being an art and a science, right? And it kind of was both. Matt Miller was talked about like the art of teaching, right?
Yeah.
And Katie Martin was more the science behind and some of the data that goes with it.
And that's it. Like when I like to sit there and do the sketch notes. And I had a great sketch note, I think, for Matt Miller, which is what I'm scrolling through now or to look for now. But yeah, what Katie Martin put out, I mean, it was so... I don't want to start with Katie Martin since she was the second day.
Yeah,
but man, it's like I couldn't keep up.
I agree.
And I liked what you were doing. You did the Adobe slide, right? Or you did the Adobe picture with all the
Adobe
different slides.
Adobe Spark post. With all her stuff.
With just all the info on why maybe that's why it was good for a second day keynote. Like, Matt Miller was, this is what you should be doing, and this is the why. This is how to do it without textbooks. And then Katie Martin comes in the next day and says, "Yep, this is why."
Yeah. So I guess going to Matt Miller, I think some of the things that I took away was like I am always willing to kind of be silly and do things that are just going to pull the kids' attention in. When I do coding, I have the students actually code me and make me move around the classroom and do stuff to start it off. And being okay and open to do that. And
you always said, the kids always say at the end of the class, "Holy smokes, I can't believe
it's over," right?
And what did he say at the beginning of his year? When he wasn't doing that stuff,
they were running to the door,
tripping over themselves. Yeah. So that's, and do you use a textbook? I mean,
I don't have any. There's no textbooks in what I do. I don't know that really there are many textbooks. So everything that I'm doing is, my curriculum.
And that's what I think is cool with where we are. And, and you can go to our curriculum coordinator and say, "Look, this is my idea. This is like you're doing, right? With the shoes for a cause and the SDGs.
Yep.
So that's what's cool, and he focused on taking that risk.
Yeah, and even his presentation I thought was cool, like switching into the different costumes as he was presenting and
moving around. Through, like he was definitely an active presenter.
Yeah,
and not for anything. I mean, I walk into your classroom and you never know where you are, right? Like you're all over the place because your kids are all over the place doing different things. I know I've had parents at that back to school night say to me, "Man, like I have a hard time. You're all over the place. It's 7:30 at night, and you're popping and moving and grooving. I can't imagine what you'd be like during the day with those kids. And you have to be, otherwise they're sitting there watching the clock.
Right.
So like taking those risks. What did you say? Oh, he was wearing the skirt.
Yeah. Right. He dressed up in his wife's skirt to just talk about vocabulary for Spanish.
Because I think that's probably one of the most boring things. About learning a language is just sitting there being drilled with vocabulary.
Right. And there are definitely, I think, subjects where that style of teaching lends itself to, where the subject otherwise could be a little bit boring and dry. Like I think of social studies. Most people, have that like dread of like memorizing dates and things like that. But man, you dress up, you jump around, you get people up and moving, and social studies becomes exciting and becomes actually livable. Well,
and that's what we talked about, retrieval over input.
Right.
Like don't just put it in there. It's how you're putting it in there, so they're going to remember maybe those experiences as opposed to just the War of 1812 happened in, I'm hoping 1812. But that's it, right? Like that's what he says. Those are your teacher superpowers to dream big and try those things that are going to give them the better experience. So it's, what do you say? Risk versus reward.
Yep. Yeah, and take a risk. And I got to say, luckily we're in a district where we are allowed to take a risk, and I think even encouraged by the freedoms that we have to take risks. Right. So I think we are very lucky in that respect.
True.
I don't know how that is in other districts. Do you have anything more about Matt Miller?
No, well, I thought it was awesome sitting right behind him and how accessible he
Yeah,
was, right?
Yeah,
And
coming
he
up, gave us a fist bump, right?
and just talking, and then next thing you know, he's up there presenting.
Yeah.
So I thought he was a great guy personally, not that we knew him, but
Right.
to talk to him for those brief moment in time, and then everything he's pushing up there, it seemed to fall in line with exactly the same things we talk about on the podcast.
Right, and it just like to me, and maybe it's just just where I am, but it's just like you're like, well, that makes sense. Right. That makes sense. And I would hope that anybody who hears it would kind of feel the same way, like, oh, that makes sense.
But it also takes work,
right?
And I guess that's so to go beyond that. Ooh, that makes sense. Let me try this.
Right.
Let me take the risk.
Right.
I think when we threw up there about our presentation, someone had mentioned, oh, is there a stream for this?
Right.
I think that should be the next step if those presentations could be called on camera.
Right. Live, even live stream, right? They could be live streamed right to YouTube.
And then they're still there for everyone to go back and check out, because the presentations are great. They give you the bit.lys.
Yeah.
But to see those keynotes in action, that would be a nice little added treat.
Yeah, so let's move on. Second day keynote was Katie Martin, and then we'll kind of talk about different sessions we went to.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. So what were your thoughts? I know you were like, and I know Mr. Harris, our superintendent, kept looking over. He's like, what is DePaulo doing over there? You had different color pens and,
From, what's her name? Sylvia Duckworth.
I've
been really working on sketchnoting since the beginning of the year and getting the kids to sketchnote, because that's it. You can memorize facts, but is that going to be good for you to go back in and retrieve it? So I try and make the facts relevant with just different colored pens for drawings and different another color for information.
And I will say I've seen your sketchnoting evolve. Like, I think it's gotten much better, and it's just not for me. It's just, I understand it, I love it. It's hard for me to do. I'm a note taker.
Well, and I see you, right? Because and I'm not a typer. I like to say, like, I use 2 fingers, and I'm pretty good. I can go pretty quickly, but I see Stacy, who does it for a living, can use all the fingers and doesn't have to look at the keys and whatnot. I don't have that, but I do enjoy drawing, so it's it's just it's easy for me. Now it is tough though, because I'm trying to keep up and
see, still listen to what's going on.
I've had to go to YouTube and learn how to draw stick figures, run in and jump in. And so but that's it. It's cool. But the first thing she said, it's great that these kids come in kindergarten, right? That first slide was all about engagement, and their engagement is so high in their beginning of their school careers. And as they go along through the grades, it's almost like it drops. Now, I don't know. I don't know where those stats are coming from.
Well, I think she said she went and visited schools around the country.
Okay.
And did some surveys, and that's one of the first pictures I took, because I was snapping pictures of her slides during the presentation, and it was how student engagement decreases over time. And she had 3 questions that she had asked, and the one was, in the last 7 days, I have learned something interesting at school, and that started off young at 60% answered yes, like they have learned something interesting in school. And by the time they got to, I don't know if it was 8th grade or 12th grade, it was down to like 30%. And it just is a steady decrease. And what's interesting is the largest decrease is in the elementary grades. Like, it drops significantly and then kind of levels off into the upper grades.
Gotcha.
And then the second question was, I have fun at school. And again, same thing. It's up, relatively high, and I don't expect everything's fun, but in kindergarten, and then a sharp decline, and then levels off kind of in the upper grades. And then the third question was, fact was, at school, I get to do what I do best every day.
Ooh.
And again, that's at Genius Hour Spark, maybe, right? And that, again, had that steep decline from kindergarten, and then levels off at the elementary or at the upper grades.
As a teacher, that's a tough question. That's a tough question to hit.
Oh yeah.
On a daily basis to let them do what they do best, especially when you have 20 different kids who, worst case scenario, each one of them could do something,
Right.
But I don't want to say worst case scenario. That's bad.
But you could even take that to, I get to do what I do best at least once a week in
Right,
school,
you're right?
right?
Sometime through the school week. Yes, right.
And that's doable.
And definitely a place to start.
Yep.
And like you said, with our Genius Hour and with our Spark Time, to allow them to pursue those passions.
Right.
So I guess that is obtainable.
Yeah, it's obtainable within a week. Not every day necessarily, but within a week, I think it's obtainable.
And most definitely, especially there's curriculum that needs to be done. Like I teach third grade. I work in that third grade classroom, and I've been realizing they are 8 and 9 years old, and our kids are great, and the way we run the classroom is great with everything that we've been pulling from all these different ideas and people. With Chris Biffle, Whole Brain Teaching, what Katie Martin was talking about, with Don Wettrick and Pam and Ira. Glenn, all the things that we've been throwing out. Kayla Delza, right? Another one. The list goes on and on. So we're taking all these ideas and it's running smooth, and we're getting through everything. And I've noticed the kids go from reading to writing to science, and they're doing it flawlessly without complaining. And they're doing quietly too, bringing things out.
Right.
And at one point I said, "All right, guys, guess what? Let's lift the reins a little bit, because it doesn't have to be work.
Right.
We went from reading, and then we did some science, and you guys are busting your tails. Let's play a couple minutes of silent ball. Let's just decompress.
Do something. Yeah.
It's like you with your relax, right? Or your breathe slide when the kids come into the room.
Yeah. My do now is just kind of take a breath.
Right.
You don't have to be from bell to bell working,
because they're kids, and it doesn't matter if they're in third grade or eighth grade or even 12th grade. They're you call them what? Emerging adults.
Right. Yeah.
And what happens when adults run 12 to 12, 7 days a week? They die of heart attacks.
Right.
So everything's important. But once again, you know what that is then? So the social emotional side of things.
Right.
It is okay to take a break. Yep.
Well, and that's what I figure. You look at teachers. How many teachers, if you didn't get a break other than your lunch, you didn't get your prep, would be upset?
Oh,
kids don't get a prep.
I'll tell you what.
It's their lunch is their break. So coming in, getting 3 minutes while I take attendance or something to take a break, I'm fine with that.
Around that day, we had to switch your technology class with my kids, and I did. The only break I got that day was my lunch, and I had to do duty that day, and it was like a 20-minute scarf your lunch down and do your thing. Yep. And by the end of the day, man, I was beat. And I'm an adult. They're 8 years old, they're 9 years old. I know they have a lot more energy, but it's nice to stop and breathe every once in a while.
Absolutely. What else were you talking with Katie Martin?
Well, it's great because what did she say? Teacher-centered to student-centered, and she had that one-room schoolhouse picture up on there.
We have that one-room schoolhouse, right? What century are you teaching in?
Yeah, and to keep it student-centered, and where's their work going? And I thought one of my favorite slides that I sketch noted was it's the teacher's work, or the teacher, you grade your papers after school, you grade your papers on the weekends or whatever, and it goes home and it might get up on the refrigerator for maybe a day or two, and then either in the recycling bin or packed away till you're in college when you decide to recycle it then. Or she said, does it go out into the real world? Is your work thrown out there to be criticized and then critiqued, and you take that constructive criticism and then go back to improve upon it.
Right. And I think that's where the use of Twitter in a classroom, right? You can put that work out there, even if it's just to just showcase it. I mean, I've done it 6th grade, created videos for digital citizenship and cyberbullying. I threw them out there, and just to be able to show the kids, like, hey, guess what? Your video, it got retweeted 5 times. And again, I'm not saying everything's about the likes and the retweets, but it's for them to see, like, oh my gosh, this person who is the director of education for Video actually liked and retweeted what I created with his product. It's a big deal.
And it's almost like fuel for the fire to do it again.
And to do it better.
To do it a little better.
Right, to try and improve.
That's why Twitter's a great place. And I think, a lot of times I'll throw that stuff out there, especially for the stuff that I've done, and say, comments and critiques suggested. Please let me know. What do you think of this? What do you think of that? I love this. Ask what if. Yep. I love the fact she was questions over answers. Yep. Have them, as opposed to knowing all the answers, because with your technology today, everyone knows the answers. So what questions should you be asking?
Well, I love she had it was a slide of it's 6 questions to ask your students. And I think this would be something like in the beginning of the year, or I might do at the beginning of a marking period from now on. And it was 6 questions to ask your students. What are you interested in? What do you love to do? What do you do, or when do you feel the most successful? What comes easily to you? What do you want to learn more about? And how do you like to learn and work with others? Again, that how do you like to learn and work can go into UDL, right? Because of everybody's a different learner, different style. So I thought that was a good slide.
Well, and then, you talk about the UDL and how do you like to learn? That's one of the things she focused on, personalized learning,
right?
And the doing, as opposed to just worksheets after worksheets, which means the teacher's role is evolving, and you're no longer the guy in front of the classroom. And I think even Matt might have said, "Were you the guide on the side?"
Right,
maybe it was I know if I didn't hear it from him, I know I heard it someplace in one of the sessions.
Yeah, and I think that's also, for me, that was in a making classroom. Like, that was one of the hardest things to get used to. Like, I'm getting paid as a teacher. If I'm not up there yapping the whole time, what am I doing? Right? Am I just a supervisor walking around? But that's it. Like, that's, with, especially in my like 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, where it is a lot of making, I'm just bouncing from place to place, checking things out, maybe throwing a suggestion out, asking some questions, guiding them along the way. But I'm not teaching.
Well, but because you're teaching them, though, how to learn, how to do it, how to go about figuring something out. And I think about when I was in school, we diagrammed sentences.
Right.
And we don't do that anymore.
Right.
And I think I diagrammed sentences for a really long time. And I can't tell you right now how to diagram a sentence. The only thing I can tell you is you draw the house sideways. Like that's what I remember from diagramming sentences.
Right.
So, and I look at what we do now, like the experiences I have in your class, the experiences with the making and the spark time in our class. I'm thinking that's what they're going to remember, and that's what they're going to take away. When I wanted to learn about this, what did I have to do? Oh yeah, I watched this video.
Right.
How did I? Oh, I watched it. I had to stop it. I had to, jot and take some notes. I had to rewatch it. I love the idea with YouTube, and I showed the kids this. Besides,
how to slow down.
Oh yeah. And when a student yesterday had some issues with figuring out how to make a paper airplane fly further, and he's watching this video and he can't do the fold, so we didn't have the cue up, so he raises his hand and I go over there and we start working, and he throws the video up, and the first thing he does is goes and changes it from a slower speed to a normal speed, because I guess he assumed I wouldn't want the slower speed. And I'm like, whoa, hold on, I don't know. And then I had to go back and because it was like it was
a complicated fold or whatever. Yeah.
If you want this paper airplane to fly further, you should see some of the things these kids are attempting. And that's what's great, because our epic failure board is empty.
Right.
So I want them to try this, throw this. Oh, did it work? Nope. Okay. Did you have fun? Right. Okay, cool. What didn't work? And
now try it again. Yeah.
Now go back and figure it out. And they're all trying to do different folds, and I'm trying to let them do it on their own. Sure. But I want them to maybe is there something you could do to your plane specifically, and as a kid, I don't know, we would just put paper clips on the end, or use tape or scissors to cut things out. So it's almost to the point where some of them that aren't being too successful on their second and third attempts, we might say, well, you know what, I tried as a kid before, because then it's word of mouth and the interview process, which is always helpful.
There was and kind of goes along with this, there was one of the slides she put up, and again, I took a bunch of pictures. It says, when we tell learners to complete an assignment, we get compliance. When we empower learners to explore and learn how to make an impact on the world, we inspire problem solvers and innovators.
Oh.
And I thought, like, that was a heavy slide. Like, there was a lot to...
Can you read that again?
Yeah. It was, when we tell learners to complete an assignment, we get compliance. When we empower learners to explore and learn how to make an impact on the world, we inspire problem solvers and innovators.
Yep.
And again, that's going from that, 1900s, we wanted to create a world of factory workers who, this is what I'm telling you to do it, sit in this line, the bell rings.
Here's your lunch, the bell rang, the day's over.
Right. Go, yeah, exactly, right? And now we're trying to get, we don't need those in the world anymore because those jobs robots are doing.
Yep, it's
right?
animated or automated. Excuse me, automated.
Automated. Right. We need the world of, hey, I'm going to start a transportation company, but I'm not going to own any cars.
Yeah.
Right. Uber. Right. I'm going to start a hotel chain or whatever, and I'm not going to own any property. You know, like, I mean, that's it.
And that's why I think that design thinking is so important, right? Your world is designed by humans. Right. Who's going to improve upon it?
Exactly.
Humans. And that's what's great. You know, we've been working with design thinking with our guys since September.
Right.
And without desks, lockers in the back, you know, sometimes we have 3 subjects we have to prepare for the afternoon. And it's a lot of hustling and bustling in the beginning of the day. After lunch, coming in from recess to drop everything off and grab everything you need. And the student goes, we got to do something better. And I said, okay, figure it out.
Right. Design something.
What do you think you should do? Like how, right. Not design a thing, design a way.
Or, right, a way.
How can we improve upon this?
And that's the cool thing. Like design thinking doesn't have to be, it's not just a thing. It can be an experience. It can be a way to do something.
Ron, it was awesome because, you know, he goes, well, what if, there you go.
Right.
What if the people that are here during RTI get their stuff now? He said, so you might have to get the stuff up on the board of what we need. I put pictures up of the notebooks and the folders to help prompt them. And I said, all right, that's doable. I'll work it on my part. You guys are here. And
right. Let's test it out. Let's prototype it, see how it works. Then
so far we don't have the issues. Is it perfect and everything? No, because there are times where, you know, someone's in front of you and their locker's right on top of yours. So yes, you might have to wait, but it's not now 20 students standing there waiting. So, and where did it come from? A kid saying something's not right here.
Yep.
What if we did it a different way?
That's cool.
Well, it's those, you know, she put up another slide and I couldn't get them all. The skills, the 2020 skills they need.
Yeah, I got them.
And how I know you did because on my sketch note, I had 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and I only had 1, 2, and 3. But just even the top 5, number 5, coordinating with others.
Yeah.
You know, so being able to sit there and wait at that locker and not be like, come on, are you kidding? Because Ron,
or pushing somebody out of the way that.
What do we want to be here at 7 a.m. this morning?
Yep.
At 6:53, I pull into the Mac machine, the money access card. Give me some cash. And as soon as I pull in, man, there's a lady standing there with a wad of cash, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Well, you know what? I got to sit here and wait patiently because if I start blowing on that horn and screaming and hollering, that ain't going to help her move quicker.
Nope, and it's not going to help you either.
No way, because I don't think she would have.
She wouldn't appreciate it.
Yeah, we were in the middle of Lumberton, so it would have been on. But that's it, and that's number 5. Number 1, problem solving.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, do you want a test taker
or a problem solver?
And I know we talked about our test that's coming up, and I'm like, how doesn't this everything we do? How doesn't it help them on that test? And you had said, well, it's it's not their passion, right? It's they don't have to. They have to read texts that are above their
grade levels a lot of times. Yeah.
Well,
and answer questions. Sometimes I have to read the question 3-4 times to figure out what's being asked.
Right.
I can't imagine a 3rd grader. And then to do it, to have to read it 3-4 times to know what it's asking, and then to be like, I really don't care. I mean,
yeah. I know, and that's the struggle,
right?
Because I know we've said it before. In order to get your paycheck, do you have to answer 10 questions about something you read?
Right.
No. I mean, do you have to perform? Yes.
Yep.
When your boss comes and says, "Yo, here's a problem, solve it," do you have to do it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have to think critically sometimes about those problems?
Yep. Do you have to be able to coordinate with others?
Yeah, most definitely.
Do you have to be able to communicate? Yep.
Do you have to be creative in your solutions?
Absolutely.
And those were the top 5. So like I said, I didn't get the other ones.
Yeah, so the other ones 6 to 10 were emotional intelligence.
Oh, okay.
Is number 6. 7, judgment and decision making.
Okay.
Number 8, service orientation. 9 is negotiation, and 10 is cognitive flexibility. I mean, that's like everything that we want to teach.
Right.
In those skills.
They're going to need to be successful in life.
Yeah. Anything else from Katie Martin?
Well, yeah, like she focused on the learning pit.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
That struggle. And the struggle is good.
Yeah.
Like we have up on our epic failure board, the struggle is real.
It is.
Like it's tough. But without inventing, right? Without thinking, without problem solving, those kids are going to be stuck in that pit.
Yeah. Well, and you think about even, ourselves, it's painful to go back and listen to like the first episode of our podcast sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're like, oh my Lord, but as we go, it gets better. And you start to, there's like a continuum of you kind of do things that others do, right? And then you do your own version, and like there's a continuum of learning.
And I think just like teaching, right? You reflect, you look back, you listen to it, you see what you liked, you see what you didn't like. Like you said, you're looking at what other people are doing, and you try, just like teaching, improve upon what you did the last time.
Absolutely.
What'd she say? Inspire problem solvers and innovators, right? How, instead of am I smart, how am I smart?
Right. And that was the one thing I was going to say. She had that stop focusing on if I am smart and start figuring out how I am smart.
Right. And they need you to figure, help them figure it out. Because I see it at 8 years old. And if you don't catch it, there's a long ride for them.
Right.
For the next 9 years just to get out of high school.
Right. I think we're going to have to wind up doing a second episode on the sessions.
Right. Yeah.
Because keynotes, Katie Martin and Matt Miller took up almost a half an hour of time, and it was awesome. Like I could probably go on another 30 minutes easily, with some of the stuff that we had
if we started to dig into everything.
Absolutely.
I do have some pictures I haven't talked about, but you know what, session 2,
we can continue Katie Martin and then jump on to some of the sessions on our next episode.
Definitely. Cool, man. Sounds good.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. Remember, check us out on teachernerds.com and at Teacher Nerds on Twitter. And Joe, Instagram.
Teacher Nerds Podcast, Ron, on the gram.
And Joe, that Teacher Nerds, we're teachers, so we spell everything correctly. So Teacher Nerds is with a
Z, Ron. You tap it out and you get that Z sound at the end.
You got it. All right, and check out the Teacher Nerds store on teachernerds.com. Get your Teacher Nerds gear. I'm all in my Teacher Nerds shirt right now.
Sporting it.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for joining us, and check us out next time. Bye.